you're a little bit off basis from what I understand.
Woo, child. Hey, everybody. I'm just sitting here having a fun time talking to two men who are therapists, and there ain't nothing better in the world than a man who is a therapist and understands all of the psychology of relationships and understands what's healthy and what's not healthy. And we're having a good conversation behind the scenes here, but I'm going to bring all y'all in here because I am so excited today. Of course, today is Monday, and this is Mental Health Monday. And I am Dr. Alicia, and I am joined by two men, real men, y'all. Joseph Corley with Vulnerability is the New Sexy. Y'all check him out every Tuesday night. Hello. He's
Right.
bringing the male voice here on this platform, and I think it's so wonderful. And he got his friend in here, Karlos. Karlos with a K. Look at that. Karlos Lyons.
No better way.
The better way. I love it. It's the better way. Have confidence in who and what you are. And that's what I'm getting from you, Karlos. And y'all know, we're going to talk about men and intimacy. But listen, y'all listen to these two men because they're going to be joining me. Valentine's Day weekend. Hello. And y'all have to tune in to my wonderful event that I have, Valentine's Day weekend. That is February 16th and 17th, 15th and 16th, Saturday, February 15th and Sunday, February 16th. I'm doing a special Black Love Weekend. It's intimacy edition. And I'm going to have these two gentlemen on here with me. And if you go and sign up for the VIP, you'll get to have their wonderful ear, and they'll be able to talk to all of the men about what masculinity really is and what it means with intimacy. And I'm so happy to have both of them here today as we talk about this topic. Oh, let me give y'all the website. Listen, go to, oh gosh, theblackloveweekend.com and sign up. I'm going to leave the website up, but I'll go back to the website. I want to let everybody know that when you want to be notified, when I do all my little wonderful interviews that I have, like today, text LOVE, LOVE, to 87948. And then you'll get updates on when I have conversations, when I am here doing YouTube videos and on Facebook. Hey, everybody on Facebook. I see y'all on Facebook. But anyway, y'all go to theblackloveweekend.com. It's $99 for general admission. You get 2 days of workshop. You get to my brain about all about intimacy, all about what it means to be connected and be connected with the person that you love. Hello. And I already got people signing up. We got the early bird going on right now, sale going on, the Black Love Weekend. If you want to do the VIP, because the VIP you'll have it be in contact with Joe and Karlos, and they're Black male therapists. Hello, you get to talk to them and have one-on-one interactions with them. And so I think that is super duper valuable. So be sure to check me out, theblackloveweekend.com. And that way you'll be able to sign up. And if y'all men out there who are tuned in, y'all want to know what to get your woman for Valentine's Day, I'm sure she would love for you to give her something where y'all two can spend time together talking about your relationship. And no better opportunity to do it with a whole weekend series of how to connect and how to love each other, because Black people, we need to know how to love each other. But anyway, I'm done. I want to welcome, I want to start with Karlos with the K. That's the best way. I love that. I just want to thank you for coming on. This is my first time meeting you, and I just love talking to you. I want to start with you. I'd like for you today's topic is breaking barriers, men, vulnerability, and the journey to intimacy. That's our topic for today. Karlos, tell us some thoughts and insights in relation to this topic, please.
Well, first of all, thank you, Dr. Alicia, for having me and the invitation that was extended. It's a pleasure to be here. I love talking about all things mental health and just wellness in general. That's become a part of my livelihood. So thank you so much for the invitation. As far as the idea of breaking barriers, men and vulnerability, and the journey to intimacy, I think when we talk about this idea of vulnerability, just that term in and of itself, one person I think about is the vulnerability guru. I would say is Miss Brene Brown, and she talks about the courage to be vulnerable, but how that process first starts with ourselves and really kind of diving into our own transparency with self. So before I can be in relationship with other people, what is my journey with my relationship to myself? And that takes a lot of unraveling for a lot of men. I think we come into the world with certain kind of presuppositions that we're given from other men, from our context, from our family, and there's just like a script that I think a lot of men exist with when it comes to what they're comfortable talking about and they're comfortable exploring, and it just takes a little bit of digging deep. And there are some men that are actually very emotionally intelligent. So I don't want to paint with a broad brush and say that all men are not tapped into their emotions. But by and large, I think as a cultural narrative, most of us aren't given the freedom and the I guess the model for how to be vulnerable without some fear of rejection or ridicule or criticism or something of that nature. And so exploring ourselves becomes more difficult in that process.
I really like what you're saying, because I'm thinking about what little boys are told when they're playing outside and they come back and they're hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You want to give them a hug. You're supposed to give them a hug and tell them, yes, you are hurt. Let's bandage you up. You're supposed to meet little boys, because they're children. Meet them with that love, care, and attention. And how sometimes we're given that messages where we'll say, man up, man up. Stick your chest out. Go on out there and take them. And I'm thinking about youth sports. I'm thinking about all of these things where very young age, they're given these messages that it's not okay to even be hurt or to even acknowledge that you're hurt. You have to man up and tough through it. How can you be transparent and be yourself when you're in your most vulnerable state and no one's letting you express all of that? So yeah, they do get these messages. And it's reflective of our society, and it's reflective of what men were told and saying to other people. So I really love that. And I love Brene Brown because she's a social worker like myself. So I'm partial to her. She does a wonderful series on, oh my God, on authenticity and being transparent and being vulnerable. It's so tough to be. So, Joe, what's happening? He's the Fly Nubian king over here. Coming in here.
Right.
I miss you, Joe. I haven't been on with you in a while. I miss talking to you. I need you back on with me. Come back on the day I'm there. But yeah, what do you think about this emotional vulnerability that's often seen as a weakness in men? And how can we start to change some of that perception?
Well, it starts with community first. Like, if you have a large amount of brothers that are coming to the space and learning how to be vulnerable and taking away some of the shame that comes with being vulnerable and, making it, so erasing the taboo and the stigma around it, then, you can, you're going to have more healthy and whole individuals. And, for me, I'm always telling people like, this is who you truly and genuinely are, and this is the mask that you're wearing, and you're pretending to be someone you're not. And the further apart these two individuals get, the more room for depression, anxiety, and all the things come with depression and anxiety. Usually for us, showing up as anger when really we're just, most times afraid or sad and unable to process those emotions and communicate those emotions. So, with authenticity, and you bringing these two things closer together, you are dissipating the shame around, showing vulnerability, and it does not looked at or viewed as a weakness. If you are, confident in your masculinity, then you really can't be shamed. So that's what that's the message that I know myself and Karlos and brothers like us are constantly pushing out. Like, you cannot be ashamed, or you can't be shamed by someone if you are confident and understanding of who you are. Everything that comes with us came from somewhere, usually somewhere early in our childhood. We have developed these emotional triggers, and they have gone underdressed for so long. And when something comes about that triggers, so to speak, triggers us, then like I said, it shows out as anger. And but as we're for myself specifically, as I understood more about what those emotional triggers are and what they were rooted in, they started to dissipate, and the anger goes away. And and so it's okay for me to say, hey, I'm sad today, or I'm afraid today, and I can communicate that with the people in my life that matter.
Oh, I like this. What you're saying is that a community
Right.
of men who get together and they're modeling for each other, led by real men, modeling for each other what it means to be yourself versus your mask,
Right.
and making sure that, okay, you do have to have some sort of a mask, but you want to make sure that the mask is totally reflective of who you really are on the inside, keeping this close together. But when that mask and who you really are starts separating, that's when you start to lose it a little bit. You start to have all of this mental illness steps in because you're not being your true authentic self. That is really interesting. And then you're walking around, you're not understanding how to deal with some of this. And then you start to have all these feelings. But what's been shown to men as acceptable is anger. Anger has been the most acceptable way to express yourself, when really you're feeling all sorts of feelings in there. Yeah. And when you're walking around angry, how you going to connect with people? How you going to connect with your significant other? How you going to connect with your children? How you going to connect and have really good pro-social behaviors and pro-social experiences with this disconnection? And it's funny to see men when they finally let down their guard and they start addressing their triggers, how more full they become and not so insecure. Oh my goodness. Karlos, weigh in on this. This is really interesting.
Yeah, I love everything that's been said. I thought of talking about the dissonance, or just the distance between the authentic self and then this. I think of the mask as more so the roles that we have to play, or the roles that we think that we have to play. So the narratives that we tell ourselves of how we should show up in the world, what is, as you mentioned, acceptable behavior for us. And I also feel like it's not even just that. I'm gonna kind of dig a little bit. It's not even just the fact that men have been taught this to other men, but I would say that there are some expectations from women as well, that men should show up with a certain type of bravado and strength and toughness that some women have taken. I've even seen this in my own practice. Some women have taken advantage of when a man is willing and wanting to let that guard down. That's looked at as being weak or less than, and not earning or yearning for more respect from her.
So what do we do with that? If you're coming across men, I mean, it's definitely once a man because this is interesting. So what you're saying is that when men are becoming healthy, because I think when the mask is together and it's more of your authentic self, that means you're really healthy. When men become healthy, there are some women that don't even want any piece of that. That healthiness. How do you deal with that?
And healthy in the sense of, like, if I share with you how I really feel about certain things, will you be able to accept me and handle me for what is really true to me? Or do you want me to continue to play the role that you have placed me in, or that I have kind of allowed society to put me in? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes, it makes perfect sense. So what do you say? What do men do? All you men out here, y'all let me know in the chat. Do I got some men in here? I got Dennis. Dennis is talking about the mask we wear. Yes, I think that's a typo. I'm sure it's a mask. Dennis, weigh in. Men in the chat, y'all weigh in. Do you feel this pressure from us as women? I'm here listening. I'm actually taking notes. I got a whole page full of notes. I'm taking notes here. Is it like, do you get this from us, that we feel more comfortable with you being in this masculine Old Spice, Old Spice man role? Are you feeling that when you're vulnerable, you have women around you that can handle all of that? Like, what advice? Give me some advice. I want some from the chat. Jesse's talking about it's a lot of pressure. Tell me about the pressure. They do feel pressure. Okay, Wayne Solomon and Jesse McDaniel is talking about how they feel pressure. And Chris is talking about the Old Spice men. Okay, here I am. Ladies, we got to listen up. Okay, any one of y'all can go.
What I'm just thinking of is like, you know, before we get to that part, I want to just say like the roles would be, I'm supposed to be the breadwinner, the provider, the protector. And then when I get some of these roles in place and I'm getting your attention for those things that, you know, you want from me, I don't know if I have the freedom to do anything else or be anything else. It's where a lot of men, they're in that space. So it's like, once I check those boxes, what else do you need? Oh, and also I got to be good in bed too, right? So like all of that is a part of the process. What else is there that shapes me or that I can be open about? I mean, Joe, is that accurate?
Yeah, if I don't check these boxes, then I absolutely have no value.
No value.
And it becomes pressure to perform, because a lot of times it often feels like more people, you know, the outside world is more concerned with our output and our production than they are with our emotions and our vulnerability.
Correct.
You know, hey, yes, the world is tough on you, black men. I understand, but you still have to go out and you got to suck that up, and you got to go out and perform. You got to go out and perform. And I can't be concerned with how I'm telling you to go out and perform either. You know, you just have to go out and perform. And I don't have the time or the sensitivity to massage your emotions to prop you up all the time, because then you may, and this is just for some women, not all women, you may become a burden to me, or I'm going to present you as a burden. And then, you know, if you happen to just deal with one of those women and you get on to the next woman who is emotionally intelligent, has an understanding, you've already locked in your mind that if you show up with any vulnerabilities or any hurt, then you are a burden. So you have closed yourself off emotionally and made yourself unavailable to this woman who is willing to accept your vulnerability. And you have to be taught again that this is a safe space for you to be vulnerable. All the things, you know. So, in answering your question, what do we do as men? I would say what we do as men, we trade the mask in for a fence. You know, the fence, and we can consider that fence a boundary. So, you know, understanding your vulnerabilities and also your boundaries, what you're willing to put up with, what you're not willing to put up with, the things that bother you and hurt you, and you're willing to accept and not. You have to know and understand these things, and then communicate them with whoever. And my understanding is, for most women, is, you know, most emotionally whole women appreciate that a lot more than you just you know, hiding and pretending to be something that you're not. Wearing that, take that mask off and put up that gate, and then, you know, decide if you want to cross into this space where I'm emotionally vulnerable. You have to accept with some of my boundaries, or at least be able to negotiate, so that we can exist in the same space.
Yeah, that's so good, man.
Oh my God. I mean, this is really, it's really something. It really pains me to hear that men are coming, and I'm seeing this in the chat, by the way, that men are coming across women like this. Like, this is painful for me to hear this, because I'm listening to women and women are saying, this dude is hurting my feelings. And when I tell them that my feelings are hurt, they looking at me like, you're complaining that I hurt your feelings. That's disrespectful. I didn't pay the bills. You got clothes on your back. You got a roof over your head. What else do you want from me? Leave me alone, woman, and let me watch the game. Like, these are the things these are the complaints that I'm hearing from women. And
Yeah.
I don't like that either. Like,
Mhm.
what is going on with these men who are just saying, what else do you want from me now? And I don't like that. I don't know. I'm teasing all of this stuff out, in my office space about trying to get down to where, of course, childhood wounds. Someone mentioned trauma. I'm teasing a lot of this out. A lot of it is based on some really uncomfortable, unprocessed feelings and experiences. But this is what I'm getting from a lot of women who are complaining too. So it's complaints going all over the place.
Yeah.
And we're not spending enough time getting down to the fact that really it is all about vulnerability is necessary for intimacy. And I see so many men and women, especially men, when they got an abundance of women out there, because y'all men be having choices, right? But at the same time, these men with all these choices are still lonely. They're still searching for intimacy and they're still not quite getting it. I don't know. Any one of you all can take it from here.
I wanted to say about what you're coming with, the women that have come into your office. What I have heard from, and I've worked with couples and men, individually. I think sometimes what is presented to them isn't just, well, that's just the way I feel from the woman. It's they take it in as criticism of them. So I'm doing all these things, and then when you come to me with something else, it's like another indictment on what I'm not doing right as the man, and I'd rather check out and not hear it and kind of stonewall and separate myself emotionally from tuning into what you're sharing. That's kind of what I've seen is like a lot of times it comes back to them as you not doing enough. I feel that you're not doing enough. And therefore they may interpret that as I am not enough for you because I'm not doing these things or I'm not this. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, because that makes perfect sense. They forget that yes, I appreciate you, and yes, I have a lot of gratitude for everything that you've done, but I want to know who you are. And I want us to be able to do some of these other things together so that I can feel safe and secure emotionally. It's not just protection physically and providing and how much money is in your checking account. It really is, I want closeness. I don't want to be lonely in this nice big old house that you have. Like, I really want that. And I think sometimes men hear that and they're not understanding that, yes, women do appreciate you a lot of times, but they also want these other things from you that you ain't got enough money. You can't write a check for this intimacy and this closeness. You can't write a check for it.
Right.
If only you could, you would.
Right.
Oh, Joe, what you gonna say to that?
I want to say, a lot of times with, tomorrow night on Vulnerabilities and New Sexy, we're going to try to have a very nuanced conversation about some of these gender wars, and we're going to talk about, how I'm going to try to talk about how the marriage or any relationship is a system. And the problem with, people going into these systems, we got women that blame men for things, we got men that blame women for things, but understand that any part of a system, if it's malfunctioning, the whole thing is broken. So we have to know and understand what the other purpose, what the other partner's purpose is inside of that system. And like I said, negotiate and talk about these things so that the whole thing can function the way it's supposed to function. And a lot of people are going into relationships without having these conversations, obviously because a lot of us haven't been taught how to have these conversations. And I know that a lot of us grow up not seeing what these healthy relationships could be like, and then we all come into relationships with our own emotional triggers. And I think it's very important to understand your partner's emotional triggers so you don't step on them. And that's just part of a system. You may think something is not important or not a big deal, but you don't have the same lived experience as your partner. So you are minimizing and invalidating their experience by not taking the time to understand, where this trigger came from, how it developed in them, and how it's grown over time. Most times you're going into a marriage, you're marrying an adult. So this is somebody that's lived with these
Yeah.
live with these emotional triggers for an extended period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're, most, like I said, most couples that I see, I don't know about you, Carlos, most couples that I see, they haven't done or dealt with, their own individual emotional triggers. They just know that their partner keeps stepping on them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Off. So it's there's a lot of communication that needs to go in. It's a system, guys. Let's stop blaming the men. Let's stop blaming the women,
Yes.
and let's start
Yeah.
talking about you as an individual and the things that bother you, and give your partner the choice to decide whether or not they want to respect those boundaries and emotional triggers.
Oh
Can
my
I add,
goodness.
can I add
Go
on?
ahead, Carlos.
I was going to add on to that. I 100% agree. I think what I hear is unmet expectations and miscommunication in that process. A lot of what I see with couples and working with men as well is that it's just like we don't know how to communicate our expectations, and that healthy dialogue really has to be, as you've said, Joe, systematic. And I always say I believe in abundance of communication. When I talk to clients, an abundance of communication. Do not assume the other person knows.
Thank
Do
you.
not assume the other person gets it or understands. We have to really like break all of that stuff down. But honestly, to understand your expectations also requires you to go explore your own narrative. As Joe mentioned about, you come to the relationship with all this stuff. I spend time with individuals, couples, all the things, right? Kind of walking through and unraveling the narrative, going back down the line of where this first started to present itself and pop up during the course of your life and your life experiences, to see why that became that trigger, why that became that landmine for you in your life. And just seeing that plain as day, sometimes they're like, oh, I never saw it that way. They start putting those two things together, and they can see, because for change to happen, the awareness has to be first. The thing that they notice, right? Awareness of what is the issue. Then they can begin that process of change. But they got to come to some level of awareness. We call that contemplation in addictions therapy. So yeah, I just think it's unmet expectations and miscommunication, along with not understanding your narrative.
Woo, my goodness. Okay, I want to comment on Joe and Carlos. I got words to say to you all, but before I do that, hey everybody, how y'all doing? Y'all listening to this? I want you to like and share this. Women, Deborah, I want you to share this to all your men that you know. Take the link and share it right now to all the men. Ladies, share this with all the men. And I think ladies need to hear this too. Y'all need to share this. Share today's video. Please share it with people. And I just want to remind you guys, don't y'all like what Joe and Carlos is talking about? Oh my goodness. So they're going to be with me at the Black Love Weekend. Go to the blackloveweekend.com and sign up. It is Valentine's Day weekend. It is Saturday, February 15th. And Sunday, February 16th in the morning, in the day. If you're VIP, you get the recordings. And if you're trying to figure out what to get your significant other, what to get your son, your son is dating somebody, what to get your son for Valentine's Day. We got birthdays coming up. All of this is $99 for general admission. And then you could just upgrade for little or nothing for VIP. And then you can have the ear. You'll have Joe and Carlos will be able to talk to you in the men's group. Hey, Jesse, sign up. Jesse, it's your birthday. So what a great birthday gift for yourself, Jesse. I want to see you in there. You get to talk to Joe and Carlos and get to listen. You get to share. It is going to be a safe space to be vulnerable. Hello. So come on in. We want to see. Jesse's going to sign up for sure. So we're going to be in there. And so that's what I just want to remind you all. And of course, to know when I go live on YouTube, who knows when I go live on Facebook, YouTube, and some other places, you can text the word love, LOVE, to 87948. And then we'll send out a message and make sure you're well connected. So the Black Love Weekend, be sure to go there and sign up. And okay, So today the title of our presentation today is Breaking Barriers, Men, Vulnerability, and the Journey to Intimacy. And boy, oh boy, Joe, okay, you were talking about stop the blaming. Everybody stop, listen. Any problems y'all got in your relationship, stop pointing the finger. Do not point the finger. There's enough blame to go around, and you could take accountability for your part of the problem. And it's not always 50-50, I find, with a lot of my couples. Sometimes I do find one person being really belligerent toward the other person. And so my work is to try to empower the person on the receiving end of this to speak up some more, and then have the other person kind of deal with this. So it's not always 50-50, but there's something to be said. What I'm finding with accountability, and it's not always men, but I will say 9 times out of 10, it's usually the man. And sometimes I have found women. Sometimes for men to be able to open up and accept that they did something wrong is so debilitating to them. They just fall apart altogether. It's like they can't separate what they did from themselves. So they think that if they are to blame in any way, that they are a bad person. And I have to spend time saying, listen, your behavior, you are better than this, but your behavior was very insulting. You violated this person. You broke the trust in a lot of ways. You have to be accountable. And I just want to follow up, just make a comment about how difficult it is for some people, not necessarily men, but that happens where it's difficult for some people to say they're sorry, for some people to show accountability without going into a deep level of depression because they think, oh my goodness, there's something wrong with me, not something wrong with my behavior. And so that's my question to you, Joe. What do you have to say to that?
I can't argue that much with you, honestly. In my experience in couples counseling, if you continuously bring blame to the man, he is eventually going to blow up a lot of the times.
Yeah.
That's the experience that I have, and Karlos might have a different perspective, but men do not go into therapy to be told that they're doing something wrong. Most times they have entered the space because they already have understood that they're doing something wrong, and they want to know how to change their behavior and get on the road to redemption and move past it. So if we spend too much time, and this is my experience with the woman, not all the time, but some of the time, she wants to spend a lot of time dealing with the hurt and not exactly ready to move past the pain. I always liken it to, a woman sleeping soundly in her home, and then, in the middle of the night, there's a home invasion, and people come in and they break the windows and set things on fire. And then, the police and the fire department are called, and you're standing outside, and everybody, and the fire gets put out, and the burglars are arrested, and you tell the woman, go back in there and sleep peacefully.
Yes.
We haven't changed the security system. We haven't replaced the windows, changed the locks, or nothing. But you expect her to go back inside after you have, basically taken away her safety or her feeling of safety. And, brother, it just doesn't work like that. We're not here.
I love that scenario because it's almost like she got PTSD. You don't have to deal with some of her things here.
You have to change the locks. You have to get updated security system. You have to maybe even move. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that you need to do in order for that woman to feel secure in that space again. And same thing for the man. But so basically what I'm saying is that I want you to come into the space not to be blamed, but to just understand your woman's feelings and validate them. I got you. I'm not going to let this turn into a blame session for you. I'm not going to do that. But you're going to have to validate your wife's feelings or your girlfriend's feelings, and you're going to have to take some accountability for it. And then we're going to understand why this behavior showed up with you in the first place, and and then we're going to address it. And then because I'm almost positive that the man is not 100% to blame for him showing up
Yeah. Well,
You know what I mean? So it's all about perspectives, man. You just have
Yeah.
to be willing to learn and validate each other.
oh, that is so true. And you're right. It's a signal. The house burning on fire is a signal of, okay, something wasn't right in that house to begin with. There was faulty wiring. There was something that was going on that needed to be addressed. And then on the other side of this whole thing, it really could be a very nice, beautiful relationship. But it really is, you really do have to tease through that. And usually what I tell people is just like, is it worth it losing her? Are you willing to lose her? Are you willing to break away? Because if you really want this, you're going to have to dig in. So I use whatever I can as leverage. You want your children to see you on the weekends? What do you want? Because that's where we're going if we don't address this and come to terms with all of this. So thank you, Joe. Okay. Now, Karlos, I want to ask you a question because you mentioned miscommunication and healthy dialogue, which thank you for that. That was a beautiful thing. And in what I'm finding too, and I do find this with men, and I don't know, listen, women, we got our own set of problems that we bring to relationships. But I'm finding this sometimes with men too, where growing up, I'm finding that men who aren't comfortable or weren't encouraged to talk about what they want growing up, communicating what they need, because hello, as women, and Deborah, you can put this in the chat if you want to, like, I can't read your mind. I don't know. I'm trying to be psychic. I would love to be clairvoyant, but I'm not clairvoyant. Like, if you don't tell me what's going on, I'm going to assume everything is okay. Right. And so I'm finding that sometimes it's hard to get men to like finally open up and say, let her know what you want from her, open up. And partly is that they're just not encouraged all the time to open up. And sometimes it's scary because if you start opening up and you start asking for what you want, that's even more frightening. It's easier to just not say it at all, because if you ask for what you want, so much anxiety comes over men where they're just like, okay, is this person going to give it to me? Because if they ain't, why did I just make myself vulnerable asking for what I want? And I'm sitting here waiting on it to happen. So it's so difficult. And you brought up just wonderful point there. Can you expand on that?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it really is a thing that I've seen a lot with a lot of the men that I work with, that finding that voice, like ownership of that space. And I use terms like advocate for what you need, advocate for what you want. It's self-advocacy, right? Showing up in that way. And when it's in reference to couples, I spend time trying to kind of teach them good rapport building communication skills using what we call I feel statements, or when this happened, I felt this way about how so-and-so went down, and et cetera, et cetera. Another thing is, just before we get into the communication of what it is that we want, I've spent a lot of time with men and just learning how to tune in to the body. Emotional attunement, body attunement. Let's sit with ourselves for a minute. What's coming up for you in this moment? When this comes across your mind, when that comes across, what are you feeling? Again, as I said at the beginning, once I understand that relationship with myself, then it's much easier to begin to communicate those things. But if I'm not even really aware how to, like, that level of self-awareness does take a little bit of practice. Again, as you mentioned, with not being taught how to do that or not being encouraged to do that. And so therapy can be a wonderful tool to learn how to just sit with yourself. Yeah, I enjoy doing emotional attunement, body attunement work. And really, it sounds lofty, but it's literally just, we're going to sit here for 5 to 10 minutes. I want you to just tap into your breath right now, like a little mini meditation period. I want you to notice your body, what you feel, any tension, any tingling, any weird sensations, getting in touch with that part of yourself. And not even surprisingly, but it's just cool to see how, when I do that, they're able to be like, I do feel this, and I'm sensing this, and this is what's on my heart, or this is what's in my shoulders. I feel this emotion in the back of my neck. Just all of that starts to stir up because they finally gave their body a chance to speak up. they start to tune into what their body has been trying to tell them. So when it comes to when she, as if they're in a relationship, if she like says something in a certain tone of voice, right? A snide, remark, or when this is going on with the kids, or what happened at work today, things become compounded, and then I'm able to kind of offload those things, maybe write my thoughts down before I go into that conversation, be able to kind of systematically look through what it is that I'm feeling in that moment, and then broach that conversation when you feel it's safe, when you feel it's appropriate. You have their ear to begin having those conversations with your significant other. But it first starts with just that attunement to self, I believe.
And it really means that you have to break away and take some time for self-care. Self-care is self-love. And get into a mindful place. I'm starting to, and I've always felt this way, but I'm starting to really believe that mindfulness is the answer.
I'm on that wave. I've been on that wave for a little while in my practice. In fact, if I wasn't on that wave, I don't think I would be a therapist, because I had to coach my own body back to wellness. I'm just be honest. I went to the hospital. I went to a neurologist. I went to therapy. And it wasn't until I really just began to be okay with just sitting in whatever the discomfort was that the healing process started to happen for me. And so that's my wave. Like, we talking about mindfulness, breath work, somatic experiencing. That's the wave.
Let me tell you, and we don't even need to talk about plant medicine and all sorts of stuff. I'd be dabbling and all that stuff, but I need it. I mean, as therapists, we need it because I think we just hold on to so much. We absorb. I really have to have a daily peaceful meditation every single day, twice a day, to just do this type of work. We're healers. We are healers. We are. And I have to go away for the weekend just to sit and meditate and have my plant ceremony and my Native American chants and all of that happening. In order to like totally release it so that I can do the work that I'm here to do as a healer. Go ahead.
Add on to that, like, let's make it practical, right? So if there are men out there that are not actively engaged in therapy right now, or if you don't have time to go on a solitude retreat and do all these extra things, I'm simply saying, first thing in the morning, can you just sit up in your bed and just take a few deep breaths? Can you just pause before we get the day started, before we look at the phone, laptop, all the things? You can start a mindfulness practice just by taking a pause. It don't have to be this lofty, we're in the Himalayas, I'm saying, in our nice
Costa Rica,
no,
5 minutes of silence, man. Just
5 minutes of silence, and just begin to tune into that clarity that comes from the inside of you, and then you're able to move differently, so that when things come into your awareness, into your space, you'll know, like, I'm feeling some dissonance right there, some incongruence with me right now. I need to speak up on this. I need to advocate for what I need. And the words don't always have to be perfect. It just has to be honest and just speak from the heart, right? You don't have to be rude about it. Like, I'm feeling this way right now.
That's right.
I will say my husband meditates almost every day. He does a lot of quiet meditation, and it really, that's what I liked about him. I'm like, you meditating too? Both of us are meditating, but he meditates all the time, and he's always in a meditative place. But when he finally opens up his mouth and starts talking, it's the most profound thing that you ever want to hear. I'm just like, all right, you didn't blow me away today. I'm done with you. I'm done with you, But it's a whole. We're just crazy and unique anyway. how we are anyway. Y'all don't be listening to us. We crazy. We unique. There is no other relationship I've ever seen quite like the one I'm in now, but it's very, very unique. But it's something being married to somebody who is so meditative and very powerful person. And so it just there's something to it. But I think that you get to that point when you meditate. It's like that sort of piece, if you don't get to meditate, you're going to be like, I gotta meditate. I can't do nothing else unless I meditate. You'll start to lean on it and know that you need to do that. You start to understand, hey, before we make a decision, let's sleep on it. You start to trust. And what I find, I think this conversation is going another direction, but what I find is that the more you lean on meditation, the more you start to get in tune with what's going on, and having that as a way of showing gratitude, expressing gratitude, but also making decisions mindfully, that the more you practice it, the more it comes to you, the more you're strengthening a muscle in your body. Absolutely. Where it's just like, I have to meditate on this because I trust myself more than anything, and I can move forward in myself. Joe, you want to come in?
Yeah, no, we're not, you're not taking a conversation. It's the same conversation, right?
Okay.
Because a lot of men need to understand what Karlos is saying about, starting your day, with in a different way, like in a meditative state, and practicing self-care and mindfulness, because a lot of what we're feeding our mind in the morning, I don't know the percentages, but I would say a large percentage of people reach for that phone in the morning, and they start feeding their mind with the outside world, and the outside world is a comparative place.
Grind.
Right. Is past the negativity and all the other things that you're going to put in, you're going to start comparing yourself. A lot of what you're seeing on social media, and that's making you feel inadequate and adding more pressure to, what you're trying to accomplish or who you're trying to be. And as a man, when you don't feel adequate, you find the most unhealthy ways to feel masculine that you could possibly find. And that's when you find yourself getting in trouble, man. You look for the situation that's going to make you feel like a man, or make you feel like you're in charge or something, and that's when you're doing damage to your life. It's those unhealthy behaviors. But if you start your day, in quiet and in peace and meditation, you'll find that you can focus more on what it is you're actually trying to be. Like, you're not going to make decisions that go against the person or the man that you say you are. Because most times when you make those decisions that, those bad decisions that make you feel more like a man, more masculine, depending on the kind of man you are, you usually hate yourself for it, or you feel worse about yourself. And then you're just making the real situation, the authentic situation, worse. And then you're separating these two things. And then you're going to find yourself depressed, anxious, or less than, because ultimately, if you are a certain kind of man, treating your woman poorly will make you feel more or less like a man than anything.
Treating your woman poorly is going to make you feel less like a man
than almost anything.
I love it. Yes. Let's say, ladies, come on. You feel that one. Yeah, because Kenneth is talking about, I put his comment up here because he's like, what's the first step to begin meditation? I have never meditated. I think meditation is the simplest. It's easy, but maybe not that simple. What do you say?
If you can't figure it out, go into your Apple Music, type in, or YouTube, type in guided meditation, and just, it'll tell you it's more, you're focusing more on your breathing, pushing out your thoughts. And it's really crazy that if you start focusing on your breathing, how you're concentrating on that, and sometimes some outside thoughts will come in, and you just gently push them out, you know what I mean? And just kind of focus on, being in the present. So it's really easy, man. There's all types of guided meditations out there.
Yeah. Netflix has a whole series on them.
Yeah, right. Go to Netflix. Go to Netflix, Apple Music, YouTube, whatever, man. Just go, find guided meditation. You can learn just simply how to, sit with yourself and push those thoughts out of your mind, and kind of start your day off focusing on really what's important to you.
And can I add on to that, Joe?
Go ahead.
You know, when I think about, we talked about narrative a little earlier. When I think about narrative, you know, technically, when we're, you know, obviously developing and coming up as children in the world, we're inheriting stories from our family, from our ancestors. There's just a lot of things that are just kind of downloaded into our DNA, into our bodies, that help define and shape who we are. And I look at meditation as an opportunity to detach from those parts of our story and our narrative and our existence that no longer serve us. And the things that do serve us, obviously we can take those in and continue to cultivate that. But all of that other stuff, all that noise that's in our head that he mentioned, from the cell phone, from television, from mom and them, from daddy and them, from grandma and them, that just no longer serves us, I'm pushing that out as I take in these deep breaths and I'm exhaling, right? I'm inhaling who I want to be, and I'm exhaling out what no longer serves me in this moment, to be grounded in this present moment and becoming a detached observer of my own life experiences. But our lives are just dictated by all these stories and these scripts all of the time. And meditation is an opportunity to see ourselves separate from that. Over time, it's just the practice of, again, if it's just 5 minutes, set your timer for 5 minutes, focus on inhaling deeply through the nose, exhaling through the mouth as if you're blowing through a straw, or blowing into a leaky tire or something like that, and just focus on that repetitive motion over and over again.
You know, I really do believe that we all have in us the natural desire for health.
Yes.
And healing.
Yes.
And if we really tune into that in ourselves, it will immediately emerge. It can't help. And detachment is how you really get in touch with that. You're detaching from all these things that don't mean nothing anyway. And really getting into what's important. Every decision that you make. And you know, really, my goal is to have every waking hour a meditation, a ceremony. I take the ceremony with me everywhere I go. You know, may everything I say be part of this whole detached ceremony, to be in it but not of it, of course, because you know we got some real life problems can kick you into you know what.
Right.
Easy to detach and to be all meditative, but then as soon as somebody say something to you and you get all triggered, you start going back. You be like, leave me alone. And no one can do it to you like your significant other.
Yeah. Right.
You'll be coming back. I know my kids do it to me. I'll be coming back. I'll be so meditative. Then they say something. I'll be like, get out of here. wanting to go. But you know, this is where mindfulness has to come in place. But you know, this is life just happens to us. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. And we're like beyond the top of the hour. And I promised that I would only have these gentlemen in here for the top of the hour. But listen, hey everybody. I am Dr. Alicia, and this is Mental Health Monday. And today we talked about breaking barriers, men, vulnerability, and the journey to intimacy. Let me tell you something. Joe and Karlos here have dropped a whole lot of wisdom. They are male therapists, and they represent manhood. This is what manhood is about. We have a lot of examples of toxic masculinity, but not here. Here we got what real manhood is about. And it's not about whiteness. It's about who and what we really are. Thank you very much. It's not about whiteness. I don't even want to get political on us today, but you know what I mean. But I just want to say that this is beautiful. And these two gentlemen are going to be joining me for the Black Love Weekend, but they're only available for the VIPs. And I got a special going on right now. If you go to theblackloveweekend.com, you'll be able to further this conversation. They're doing a men's group. So Chris, the men's group, join us. I feel if you wake up on the side of a woman in the morning and you see her, you see the real her, and you don't jump up and run out the room, I feel like you're gonna be that woman for a long time.
Oh,
Chris, you are hilarious. I love that comment.
That is not the parameter we're using, Chris.
Let me tell you, I just randomly picked the comment. I thought, oh, waking up with a woman. Anyway, Chris, you join because these two men will put you in your place with these comments.
Yeah.
But I just want to thank you too for being here. Y'all make sure you go to theblackloveweekend.com. It's $99 right now. This is the early bird. It is Valentine's Day weekend. It is Saturday. During the day, y'all can do what y'all want to do at nighttime, Saturday night. But during the day, you'll be with me. I have a wonderful workshop for you guys about intimacy, about how to love each other. Black people need to learn how to love each other. We definitely know how to hate each other very well. We got that nailed down. So let's get into loving each other, figuring out how to love each other. We're going to be talking about that. On Saturday, you're going to have Joe and Karlos in the afternoon. They're going to be coming in and they're only meeting with the VIPs. So make sure you get your VIP ticket. It's digital. So, and if you're VIP, everything is going to be recorded. You'll have access to the recordings. But if you just want to drop in and say hey to everybody, you could just do the general admission. It's $99, y'all. That's not that bad. And then it could be a nice little gift for you and your boo. You and your boo, if you're trying to find a nice, beautiful gift and you're trying to like racking your brain, you don't know what to do. Lexicon, cuddling a woman is like a teddy bear. Okay, so these men love physical touch, by the way. I don't know what it is with y'all men and physical touch. They talking about cuddling a woman and sleeping and waking up next to a woman. This is what the comments are saying. Anyway,
physical touch is one of the easiest love language to understand for the most part. So
men love physical touch. I know my boo, he loves physical touch. So I'm like, okay, physical touch, that's good with me too. So yes, cuddling with a woman like a teddy bear is intimacy. Yes, Black Lexicon, I want to see you there. Anyway, so, okay, let's wrap it up. We got to wrap it up. Can you do this again? Patricia wants y'all back again. Listen, if you wanted to come, be sure to go to theblackloveweekend.com if you want to know when I'm live, because who knows when it's going to be these days. I'm very busy, but it's text the word love to 87948 and you'll get information from somebody be sending you information on that. But really, the best thing for you to do today is go to theblackloveweekend.com. You'll see Joe and Karlos, and then we'll end with Joe and Karlos. How about you just give us what question can I give you guys? Parting words. We need advice. These men and women in the chat need advice. What would you say to us? They're loving this physical touch thing. Men who love physical touch. And anyway, parting words. We'll start with Joe, Mr. Joe. Parting words and last thoughts about men vulnerability and the journey to intimacy. And then let everybody know how to find you, Mr. Joe.
Sure. My parting words are going to be with, I'm going to steal some words from my brother Karlos earlier when he was talking about, using those I statements and whatnot. When this happens, I feel this and I need this. When you are discussing things in terms of your own feelings, it's very difficult for someone to argue with your own feelings. I can't, if it makes you feel hurt, if it makes you feel sad, if it makes you feel disregarded, how can I argue with you feel that way? So my only perspective should be is to understand why are you feeling instead of getting upset about the fact that you feel that way and taking it personal as to why you feel that way. Let me understand, well, what am I doing or what am I saying that's making you feel so disregarded? Why is this occurring? I don't get it. Get there, and I implore you to call one of these brothers here or Dr. Alicia herself and get some help in understanding where the communication gaps are, because most of the time we're talking about two people with the same mission. You may want to run the ball left. I may want to throw the ball right, but let's agree that we both want to score a touchdown, right? We have the same goals. And if we don't have the same goals, your relationship is on a whole different situation. But in a healthy, typically loving relationship, we have the same goals. So it's illogical for us to fight. is what I'm trying to get you, basically what I'm trying to say. So start with your feelings. And you can find me, to set up any type of session or appointment at the letter U, consulting.com. You can book a free consult right on there. And tomorrow night, I told you every Tuesday night, but tomorrow night we're going to have a very, very nuanced conversation about gender wars. I'm going to be very specific about how we're doing it. We're not coming to the space to argue about men versus women or anything like that. We're really trying to understand how to communicate with each other so that we can meet each other's needs. So I implore you to join me tomorrow on the Boss Network for Vulnerability is the New Sexy.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much. Okay, Karlos.
Yeah, I want to just say a couple of things. That first, men, please understand, or just anybody in the viewing audience, please understand that your emotions are not the enemy. We are taught to look at this separation between our emotional selves and our lived experience, but your emotions are not the enemy. In fact, your mind, your body, all of it is inextricably linked together. It's just more important for us to move in harmony with all of it in a way that becomes more intuitive. And the other piece is when it comes to vulnerability, understand that my starting point for vulnerability is not necessarily about the other person's reaction to my decision to be vulnerable, if that makes sense. It's more so about me being honest with myself, first of all, acknowledging what my true feelings are, what my true thoughts are, and my expression is, and then being willing to share that with another soul. But it can't first start with being concerned about the other person's reaction, because then we begin to people please and kind of edit ourselves based upon what we feel somebody's going to say or think or have an opinion about my true self. So just keeping that in mind, that your emotions are not the enemy. Vulnerability has to start first with an authentic acknowledgement of your truest self. And then lastly, if it just comes down to, wanting to speak with a therapist, I think a therapist is going to help you along your journey. We don't fix all of your problems. We are not here to just give you the aha advice magic potion to all of your problems. But I want to say that if you are with the right therapist, they're going to help you get the tools so that you can go run this race and do it even on your own. Just be equipped to go be that authentic man. And so if you want to journey with myself, I love to work with any of your viewing audience. If you're in the state of Texas, I'm credentialed in the state of Texas. And so I'm on the Davis Counseling Center, which is daviscounselingcenter.com. You can find my profile on Psychology Today. That's Karlos with the K. Karlos Lyons, Lyons. And then I think I'm on Instagram. Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Mr.K Lyons. Mr.K Lyons. That's Mr.KLYONS.
All right, I'm gonna follow you on Instagram, Mr. K Lyons on Instagram. Okay, y'all. I don't know how much I don't think people understand this is a treat. It's a treat to get black male therapists to answer my phone call when I be calling y'all. Y'all be too busy. I don't know what's going on, but I be making fun of y'all. So, okay, we learned a lot today. I've been taking notes. I statements. Make some I statements when you talk about how you feel. Just say, when this happens, I feel this way. Get a community. Y'all men out here, it is so important to have a community of which you can take off that mask and be your authentic self. Understand your triggers. Understand how to deal with anger. Anger is sanctioned feeling, sanctioned emotion for men. And there's probably a lot of other feelings that you have. We also talked about how sometimes us women, ladies, we be putting pressure on men to be the breadwinner, provider, protector. We put a lot of pressure, and then we want them to be good in bed at night. Then we want them to share all their feelings. We be putting a lot of pressure on men. We need to stop. We need to stop and think about that. We put a lot of pressure. All of these roles that they have to play. We got to take accountability. Stop blaming each other. Take accountability. We got to get into Brene Brown. Y'all look at her up. She's a fellow social worker. She's talking about being your authentic self, transparency, being honest with yourself. Hello. Then we talked about how to communicate. Sometimes we mistalk. We miscommunicate. We need to have this healthy dialogue. And you need to advocate for yourself. And if you're having problems with that, you got 3 people right here. I'm licensed. All of us are licensed there. And by the way, to be licensed is very important. That means that protects the public. The license don't do nothing for me. The license protects you. That means I have to be on top of evidence-based practice. That means every word that come out of my mouth, a lot of it is my opinion, but most of it is evidence-based, or why am I saying it? So anyway, that's the thing. That's my public service announcement, because there's a whole lot of armchair therapists to be saying, have that stuff. Do y'all know 80% of these armchair therapists have that stuff be wrong? I feel like this is wrong, just bad advice on the internet. This is information that you can trust. And if you want more of this, go to theblackloveweekend.com. Support us. Support me. Support all of us. All these good things that are happening. Theblackloveweekend.com. And of course, if you want to work with me, you very well can. I am got a lot of good practice. You can follow me on Instagram at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. And of course, you can come to my website, there it is down there, coachingwithdralicia.com. Fill out the intake. I got to charge for consultations now, Joe. I'm at that point. Ooh. I got to charge. It's only $20 for consultations, but I have to, because I'll tell you off air why I have to charge people. But anyway, people just no, I'm not relaying a message to my husband. If you want to talk to him, so you can get a hold of him on your own. I'm trying to talk to my own husband. Don't send no messages through me to talk to him. But anyway,
I get it.
Boy, oh boy. But thank you, everybody. Thank you, Alfonso. Thank you, Wayne. I see y'all in here. I see some people have signed up. I don't even want to call y'all out, but I really appreciate you. Look at all the men in here. Black Lexicon. I feel like that's a man energy right there. Raymond. Come on. Walter, Ella. I guess that's a lady named after her father, probably. We got Wayne. We got all these men in here. Lots of men's in here. So I appreciate y'all for coming in here. And thank you, Joe and Karlos, for joining me. We're going to have some fun Valentine's Day weekend. So bye, everybody.
Good night, y'all.